Colossals of Horror.
Hello and welcome to another installment of Colossals of Horror. This is episode 5, and I am your host, Darren Mitchell, along with my trusty co-host,
Lawrence Brown. So do what you always do. Grab that beer, pull up a chair. Let's get it started.
Here we go.
Okay, well, today we're going to be talking about a film that actually our special guest last week, Brandon, recommended to us. Brandon's a big zombie guy. He really likes zombie movies, so...
Yeah, you talked about that last week a little bit, so this really kind of fell into our laps, and it's a good movie for a zombie fan out there.
Yep, so today we are going to be talking about the film Pontypool that came out in 2008. Pontypool actually was a novel written by Tony Burgess.
Oh, yeah?
And the novel was called Pontypool Changes Everything. So when they were going to go do this film, actually, I found that this was pretty surprising, but Tony Burgess actually wrote the script for this to be adapted to film in 48 hours.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and the other thing that's crazy is that the whole, and you'll see it as we go into, talking about the plot of the movie and everything like that. But they took the angle of making this movie based on Orson Welles' radio broadcast of the War of the Worlds.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yep. They use that angle to tell the story.
Yeah, and like Darren said, we'll break that down once we actually go into the movie a lot more, because this is a very visual or a non-visual movie, but at the same time, it's a very intense film. Based on the actors just telling their stories and hearing the stories that are coming in, as we'll explain when we break that down. So
Yep. So we'll just start off just by talking about a little bit of who worked on the film. The director was Bruce McDonald, and he didn't really have many... I mean, he had other films that he's done, but nothing really notable that anyone would really know.
Yeah.
A lot of underground type of stuff.
Like I always say, those movies that you pick out at the bottom of the or the bin at Walmart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And again, it was written by Tony Burgess. The music was done by Claude Foisy.
The music comes into big play too with this movie. It's that definitely adds. I mean, like any movie, but this adds a lot to it with the intensity and the suspense of the movie. So,
well, and again, like you were saying, that it's not necessarily a visual
it's
film.
Definitely not a visual film at all.
Something that you listen to, and it's creepy in its own way. So yeah, and I just want to talk a little bit about. It was done by its own production company called Pontiac Pictures.
Did they create that because of the movie title?
I think so.
Sounds like
yeah. I didn't find anything concrete that said that, but I mean, you can kind of just
put it together.
And the movie is called Pontypool because it actually is filmed on location in Pontypool, Ontario, Canada.
See, I think that's cool how they did do that, though. They actually, because most places, they film like just to make it look like somewhere, but it's cool that they actually went there and did that. So.
Yep. And I'll be honest with you, before I saw this movie, I didn't even know there was a Pontypool, Ontario, Canada.
Dude, when I heard the title, that's why I was like, I don't even want to do this movie at first, because I'm like, what's that even mean? I didn't realize that was an actual place.
Yep. And I just want to say, before we start breaking down who the actors are and everything else, that this movie did go to box office. It was actually traveling the independent film circuit, all over film festivals back in 2008 when it was first done. And then in 2009, it came to box offices in the United States. And surprisingly, the film only made $32,000.
See, okay, that makes sense now, because I was saying to you, I was like, I've never even heard of this before, but I'm sure maybe it was a big hit in Canada, since it was filmed in Canada.
It could have been.
So, because I never heard of this before. Like, I don't remember seeing a preview, nothing. So.
Well, I tried to look up, because $32,000 is very minuscule in, box office.
32,000?
32,000.
I'm sure they may have paid. Make a movie for.
I'm sure they paid the main actor more than that just to do this.
Oh yeah, that's his salary was probably like triple that.
So that's why I'm thinking like I tried to look up like what DVD sales were, but I couldn't find information on that. And we got it right off Netflix for free.
Yeah.
So
dude, they probably paid craft service just to come feed them more than that. Wow, that's really bad.
So yeah, that's pretty much who worked on it. We can start talking about the actors here. We'll go into the main character, which is the radio host, which is
this definitely it definitely has a Howard Stern type vibe, or if you're into any radio show like I Miss Howard Stern, but he plays that character in the film as this shock jock, very arrogant DJ.
The main guy.
Yeah, the main character. His name's Maisie.
Maisie.
And he's an old cowboy.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And I have to say he did really well.
I actually agree. But again, name some of the movies he's been in. I mean, he's been in some big blockbusters. So.
Okay, well, again, he's the radio host in the movie. He goes by Grant Maisie, and he was played by Stephen McCaddy. And Stephen McCaddy's been in a lot of well-known films. He was in the movie 300. He was in Watchmen.
See, right there, they're not even well-known, like huge summer blockbusters.
Huge movies,
like,
yeah. So he was in 300, Watchmen, The Fountain, which is an awesome film. If you haven't seen The Fountain,
I saw the trailer.
Fountain is awesome. A History of Violence. He's been in Immortals. He was in Shoot 'Em Up, and he was also in Chronicles of Riddick. And he was in a lot more. These are just kind of the ones I jotted down. That
no, it's
I
weird
feel
too.
like
most of those are comic book movies. That's
are,
weird.
huh?
I didn't even know that. Yeah, like 300, Watchmen. Actually, History of Violence is a comic book movie too. I didn't know.
Is Immortals?
That one I'm not
I don't
sure
know
about
Immortals.
but
Yeah,
I think Riddick is though too. That's cool though. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's in a lot of big movies. So.
Yep. So that's Grant Maisie.
And he's
again,
one of those characters that like the second I saw him, it's one of those things like, oh, I know that guy, but you have no idea where he's actually from. So
Yeah, he had that face.
He has that
He
face,
looks
like, I know
familiar.
that guy.
And I know, watch, I'll go back and watch 300 or one of these, and like he'll be like a prominent
definitely.
figure in the
Yeah.
movie, you know. And I didn't realize it, but okay, so that's the main guy, and then basically the movie is told through the perspective of like 4 people in a radio station.
yeah.
So the people that I'm telling you here now are pretty much the only people that are acting in it, really.
And that's why we said at the beginning too how it's very a not visual movie. It's very story based and just dialogue. It's almost got like a Tarantino vibe actually, with just like relying a lot on dialogue. Obviously, nothing up to that Tarantino par. But
Yeah. Okay, so then there's also his producer, which in the movie she is Sydney Breyer, and she is played by Lisa Hull. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Hull, and she hasn't really been in anything else.
Yeah, but I pointed out she has again one of those faces where you're like, I know her from something. So
Yeah.
I IMDb'd it, and she's actually been in like Seinfeld episodes. And
Oh,
same,
that's right.
Same with
That's
the guy,
right.
the character Maisie. He's been in
Yes.
Seinfeld as well. So
And then they're, in the studio they have like their intern that's there, like she puts the music on, that sort of thing.
yeah, she's kind of like the stuttering John from the Howard Stern show.
Yeah.
Better looking, but yeah.
She also looked like the girl from Harry Potter, I have to say.
What,
I forgot
Hermione?
about that. The main girl in Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, it's Hermione, bro.
But her name in the movie was Laurel Ann, and she was played by Georgina Riley. The only really notable film that I saw that was in the horror genre that she's been in is called Eddie the Sleepwalking Cannibal. I haven't seen it. I'm sure I'll watch it at some point. But other than that, that's really one of the only films she's been in. And then there's a doctor in the film that comes into play through the story, and he was Dr. Mendez in the film.
Another character where you look at his face and go, I know him from somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I feel this whole film, the whole entire cast is like, I know them, but I don't.
Well, I actually remember what he's in one of the movies, and I'll tell you when we get to it. But again, he was Dr. Mendez, and he was played by Hrant Alianak, and he was in the movie Billy Madison. He was also in Dirty Work, and this is what I was going to say. He was the guy in Dirty Work that punches the guy in the stomach. He's like, I'll punch you in the stomach.
What?
He was like the shop owner that in Dirty Work that he had money.
Oh yeah, he's like, I'll let you slide if you let me punch you in the stomach.
That was him. That was him. Yep.
Sorry about the terrible accent. But go on.
He was also in Goosebumps episodes, like in the 90s. He was in RoboCop. He was in The Matrix, and he was also in Friday the 13th.
Oh, he's in The Matrix?
In The Matrix. Somewhere in The Matrix. I don't know where.
Wow.
But it was funny that I just thought of the Dirty Work thing because I remember him specifically.
They
in that
must
movie.
have like casted this movie, been like, all right, let's get every character actor who's been in like real big movies, and we're gonna throw him in this film.
Yeah, and that's again why I'm surprised it only did 32,000 at box office. So I don't know how they did
clearly,
it. Clearly,
that is a bad setup. Then do not take character actors and try making a big box or a big film out of it. So
yeah.
So that pretty much sums up the cast. I mean, minus certain monstrous things that'll come in, but I mean the whole that's what 5 people, 4. Yeah, 4 people is the entire cast.
Pretty much
minus there are other, we'll say, callers that come in as they're kind of like cast members, but again, you don't see them. So
yep. Well, do you want to start talking about the plot? Do you want to go into that? Why don't you start it off?
Okay. Well, we were saying it starts out with we said it's a radio show, so it's like 4 a.m, and the main character Maisie is driving to work, and out of nowhere, I guess he sees this girl just like standing on the side of the road, so he pulls over, like any gentleman would, any cowboy gentleman, to see if the woman needs some help. And he rolls his window down. Or no, he doesn't even see her at first.
He gets a phone call and he drops his cell phone.
I forgot she surprises him. Yeah, so he drops his cell phone down, and then next thing he looks up, and this girl just slams her face against his window.
Yeah.
And she's just completely out of it, talking gibberish. And he rolls his window down. And he's like, "Hey, lady, you need some help?" And she just keeps repeating the same sentence over and over again, and then just slowly walks away. So pretty much starts out like that. So you're like, "What the heck's going on?" Like, you don't even know what this film's going to be about at this point. So, and then pretty much starts out that, and then him going into work and kind of just
the mundane Monday at the radio station.
Monday at work, and starts doing his radio broadcast, not podcast. Sorry.
Yeah. So he goes in, and like I said, it's just a very mundane day. Nothing's really going on. They don't really have much to talk about other than the weather.
Yeah, but then comes in. They start getting a lot of these random calls of breaking news, and they're so ridiculous that the producer, who's kind of like the Baba Booey of Howard Stern on this movie, she just keeps telling the other like intern girl, be like, "No, don't give these to Maisie yet. We don't know if these are real yet." So and then finally they shoot him the call. So
they shoot him the call. So they get the weird part about it is they get a call from their, what is it, the eye in the sky,
chopper in the sky
guy, who's part of the news team or whatever, the radio team. And they get this disturbing phone call from him that he's basically saying that there's mobs of people that are surrounding this private practice office building, which in the film it's Dr. Mendez's practice.
Yeah, which we don't even know who that character is at this point. But
yes.
you get that there's that first instance of getting to know the name, and like, okay, there's a doctor out there doing some weird or experiments or something. Like, you get that idea in your head, kind of. So
yep. And then all of a sudden you just hear just craziness coming over the line of the conversation between Maisie and the guy in the helicopter, and he's basically saying that people are literally breaking down the walls of this office. And it's kind of like, I don't know, I got the impression that in the movie World War Z, when people are like climbing up over the wall, there's just mobs of people.
And they explain it too. I wonder actually if they actually use some of the I'm sure they did some of the script from the actual book. You know what I mean? Some of the dialogue.
I'm sure he did.
They did, because
I said, he did it in 48 hours.
Yeah,
I'm sure he
just stole it, or not stole it, but took it, because they describe it in a way too, like it's like almost like an ocean of people like just flowing over each other, which again, like Darren said, reminded me exactly of World War Z, and just trying to get over each other to enter this building, and that's the first call they get. So
that's the first call they get, and then from there it just pretty much, I mean, we're trying not to give too much away, because it's one of those movies that it's so not visual that there's not a lot that we can. I don't want to say too much and really ruin the film for you guys. I mean,
there's not too much room, but okay. So they keep, more or less, they keep getting these calls, and like more and more keep coming in, and it gets to the point now where like they start hearing about like military vehicles coming into the city, and like then also BBC. Like their affiliated station ends up calling them, and they're like, "What the heck?" Because again, they are in this radio station where they have no windows around them. They're in a building with no sight.
It's in Pontypool, Ontario, Canada, which is like it seems like it's a desolate place. It's a small town. There's not a lot going on. Everyone knows everyone type of thing.
Yeah. So they pretty much have no clue what's going on, but they're doing their job. They're reporting. So finally they get these calls where it's to the point where they, like, again, the military is coming in. The BBC contacts them to be like, "Hey, what's going on in Canada? Like, we're having reports of almost like what were they saying? What's that called when like raccoons are like ravaged, or you know what I'm talking, like rabies, like
rabies,
like these people are just going crazy, and like these and then they also start getting reports of like people just like tearing body parts apart or off of each other, and just like are they eating each other? I feel like I remember hearing that, something like that.
They may be eating each other.
Yeah,
there was a couple. Basically the gist of it is that these people end up getting, Maisie, Sydney Brier, Laurel Ann, end up getting, like, you know, it gets so crazy with so many reports coming in. But the weird thing is that they call it the wire in the movie, but the main like police department, like, you know, broadcast or whatever, nobody's reporting on this.
Yeah,
what's
that's
going
true.
on. The only way they're getting information is by
Outside
random
sources.
people, outside sources, and random people calling into the radio station. And giving them more info about what's going on, and that's what's creepy about it.
Well, and it's again, like we said too, not visual at all. Like you really are in this movie are relying on the actors delivering the lines, and also just the lines themselves being so descriptive. That's why, again, I asked if it came from the book because they are very descriptive, and yeah, so you're pretty much relying on that, and you've really got to use your imagination in this film, but it's not that hard to, again, because it is so descriptive.
It sets you up nicely to just kind of think about what's going on.
And again, then something happens, which I don't want to give it away, like Darren was saying, but they end up, remember, during the middle of the broadcast, all of a sudden this like automatic like warning thing comes on, and it tells them pretty much to not be speaking, that they should not be talking right now.
Before we say that, there's a part when everything's so crazy outside of the radio station, and again, the people are there in there cannot see what's going on. They have no idea what's going around in their surroundings, so they're kind of stuck in there. Like, do we leave? Do we stay there? Do we keep broadcasting? That sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, a call comes in to the producer that says nobody's supposed to leave their house. Like,
oh, that's right.
People
they
aren't
say
supposed
stay
to leave.
indoors.
They
That's
say
right.
stay indoors
Because it gets to the point now where like Maisie is like the main character, the radio host is like, I need to get outside. He actually breaks down, and they end up having to do like replays from like days before.
Yeah.
And he starts wandering. He's like, I need to get out there and see what's happening. I need to see what's going on. So that's when this is kind of like the climactic part where like you're not just having hearsay now. And he goes up to the door just like about to leave, and all of a sudden they just stand there and they just start hearing people like surrounding the building. And this plays a big part too, again, without giving anything away. They have speakers outside of the radio station that plays their show that's going on.
Yep.
So but so this is when it becomes real for them. And
I just want to add that another thing that kind of made Maisie kind of go crazy is because their pilot that was doing the helicopter, they lost communication with him, and they're like, okay, is our friend okay? They're like, we really have no idea what's going on.
Well, that's
all
what
these
I'm saying.
crazy
It
things.
becomes reality.
Is it a giant hoax?
Yeah.
For a while, they think it's a hoax type of thing.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going on. And I mean, from there, it kind of goes downhill.
Yeah,
I would say within their own radio station goes down.
Well, that's where I was going with that point. Then how Maisie starts going crazy, and again, now all of a sudden you start hearing these voices, and now they're starting to experience it firsthand. So now it's like, wow, this is not a joke. This is real. And they start having people trying to break in. And at this point, even as a like watching the film, you don't know if this is this zombies, is this like the crazies, like an infection movie. You have no idea what's going on. All you know is there's these people. You don't even know if it's just a mob of people like who hate the radio station. They hate these other people who are just like, you know, wanting to kill them.
Well, that's that's another thing I want to bring up, because in the beginning of the movie, the very, very beginning, there's like it's like a radio broadcast. It's like almost like an oscillator, like wavelength thing coming on, and there's some guy talking, and they're talking about history, and they're talking about like, basically he's saying when something bad happens, it kind of is a snowball effect and into something larger, something greater. That's kind of what I took from what he was saying.
Wow,
it's like he was kind of saying, like, you know, when JFK was shot, there was other things leading up to that point
that created
that larger event.
Yeah.
So that they kind of took this weird angle with the movie.
I didn't even look that deep into it.
Yeah, it was. I don't know why it doesn't really, in my opinion, didn't play in that huge into the movie, why they started the movie that way. But it was just one of those eerie things that it's like you never know what's going to happen type of thing. It left me feeling that way.
Yeah, and like we said, we don't want to give away because there is a very interesting, weird twist of why these people are doing this, which I still don't 100% understand.
Do you think we should go into it? Should we give a little bit away?
I don't think.
You don't think so?
No, I think we'll leave. I think we'll leave it for the viewer to decide, because I think this is one of those things where it's very open to interpretation of how you thought about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we should leave it up for them to see, and see how they're feeling about it. But more or less, this movie, it's again very non-visual, but it's a very, very intense film. I mean, it's very suspenseful. And you do end up seeing some gore here and there. I mean, not too much, but
it's not, if you're going to go into this film thinking that it's a gore fest like a Saw.
Yeah, it's not going to be a 28 Days Later or a Night of the Living Dead. Yeah. And I'm not even saying it's a zombie movie, but it's like you're not going to just see people like being ripped apart. But the thing is, the way you're hearing about it, which it almost makes it more like real for you even watching it. You know what I mean? Just like World of Worlds, like you were saying, when they broadcast that, people are like, "This is really happening." And even though I'm watching it, you still get that sense of like, this could happen. Like this is real. Like,
I'll just bring up what I've said before in our past shows is that it's one of those movies that it's I call it tasteful horror. It's not gross. It's not gore. It gives you that eerie sense that there's something going on, and with them being stuck in a radio station, it gives them that sense of, what the hell do we do now?
Exactly.
You know, like we're
you're there. You're in it with them.
You're in it with them.
You definitely become part of this film. Like
crap, you're the fifth person stuck in the radio station.
That's a really good point right there. Yeah, you become the fifth character.
Yep.
So and then also actually that's a big part too. Like we were saying, the radio callers and stuff, they're definitely like a sixth character. Then they're a big part of it. So.
Yeah. They're the ones telling
the stories.
They're the ones that are carrying on what's going on, because they're stuck in there. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
And again, it just goes on, and the doctor comes into play at some point.
Which
we can say that.
We can say he comes in. So he kind of crawls in through a window at some point because he's being chased again, like we said, by a mob of
somehow he
escaped.
People.
But that's cool. Like I like it that they don't go into every little detail. Because again, if they don't know, we shouldn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Since they're stuck there, which again, I like. We see their perspective and their perspective only. So I thought that was really cool about this film. But he comes into play, which he then ends up, which again, we don't want to give away what's going on, but he kind of gives them a huge insight of what's happening.
Well, he was stuck out there before with what was going on, so he kind of witnessed some things.
But we don't even know. Maybe he's the reason this happened. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. At that point, you don't know, but you kind of get the idea that he knows something, and he kind of fills in some of the guys on some stuff, and it puts them into perspective.
Yeah,
what's
definitely.
Going on.
Yeah, like I said, they get a huge insight and finally have a reality check of what is happening. So. I mean, that pretty much sums out the movie without giving a lot away.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk anymore about.
I think this is a movie where you need to kind of like, again, have an open interpretation and not get our viewpoint on it of the ending. That is, and again, don't go in thinking this is a zombie movie. Be very open minded. It has a like how we were describing it. It sounds like a zombie flick, but again, it's open to interpretation. I think of what you think of it could be an infection film, or it could even just be like the Crazies. So. Just going
Contagion.
With yeah. So just going with an open mind, but I mean, it really is cool. And again, it does take place just in one place, one spot. But I mean, the story held my attention. So.
I don't think
with that, I just said it held my attention. You want to break down the pros and cons with that?
Let's do that. Yeah, I think that sums up what we wanted to talk about with the actual plot of the movie and the characters and so forth.
Yeah, and again, we don't want to ruin the ending for you guys, but I mean.
Well, go ahead. Why don't you start it? What's your pro?
All right, pros of this film. Well, my one pro is I'm a huge Howard Stern fan, so I thought that was cool with the radio station. And I thought it was cool how you were saying a big pro is the tasteful horror. Like, you don't always have to go into a film saying, I need to see some intestines being ripped out. I need to see this. You know what I mean? Like, you don't always. And again, there is blood for all you blood freaks out there want to see some gore or see someone's sickos out there, but we all are at times.
We all are. Yep.
But it was tasteful horror, and again, I thought the biggest pro was just the suspense. It's the whole movie is a giant build up to that climax at the end. Like, you just finally, like, when you find out what's happening, then you're like,
it all starts to make sense.
Yeah,
it does.
So those are my pros, I think, definitely.
Okay, well, I'll say my pro is I agree with you. I love Grant Mazey, Stephen McHattie.
He definitely helped.
Was an awesome
together.
character. Yeah, he just had that voice. Like, if we could have him on Colossals of Horror with us, he would be fantastic. You know what I mean? He just had that voice.
And when you watched, you believed he was this like redneck cowboy doing a radio show that he could care less about as he's drinking his whiskey doing the show. But
and it was cool too to see like kind of how like there's behind the scenes things that go on in radio too. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just the program being podcast. Like the guy's not drinking coffee. Like he's saying he's drinking coffee, but he's drinking whiskey out of his coffee mug.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Who
or
knows
like
what we're drinking right now?
Or the BS that the producer's saying in his headphones. While he's doing a broadcast to get him.
Yeah, it definitely gives you that background. But
so pros, So that I would say the big pro for me would be just Grant Mazey himself. And I actually like the angle they took with this about it being like based in a radio station.
Well, that's what I was about to say. That was another big pro for me. Is just the fact
it was original.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think of one where I've seen where it just takes place without you knowing what's going on.
The only kind of odd film I can think of, and it's not necessarily like a radio station or anything else, but it's just like those movies like VHS.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
or like White Noise.
Yeah, like movies like the movies where you're like the what do you call those now? Like the Blair Witches and stuff, like those kind of movies now. But
or even what is it, The Ring, where they watch something, they watch the film, and then they're like,
but that takes place all over there.
Yeah, it's kind of beyond that wavelength of a horror film.
Yeah, like I said, this one just is cool, like because you're in it with them. You're not seeing scenes of like overseas where zombies are becoming created. You know what I mean? You have no background. You're just sitting there along for the ride. So, Okay. Cons.
Go ahead. You're up.
Ooh. Give me a second here. Cons.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. Again, I just want to start saying I did like the film, but there was some things that I felt it was lacking. One was, I feel like they took I think they could have put a little bit, and I know it's still creepy, like the movie, and it's not a visual film, but I feel like they could have done more with like maybe making it a little bit more visual.
But I think that's the whole pro of it.
I know.
It can be a con. I guess at the end they could have went way more into like, again, we can't give it away, but more visual with what's out there.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Like, I would have liked to see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see like the actual effects of what's going on rather than like, yeah, definitely just towards the end seeing what's happening outside in the outside world.
Yeah, that, and then and you guys have heard in our past shows that I love the music. I think the music really makes a huge toll on a scene. It really affects how things are, and there was music in it, and the music was good for what they had. But I would have liked to have more music.
Well, they didn't really have music though, and that's the point. That's why another pro for me is that you're in it with them. You're not having, even though you're watching a film, when they're playing the radio show, you're just listening to them do the radio show. You don't have any of these build-ups of like. I think the only really things they use is just sound effects, like to hear like the doors banging and creaking and the people going nuts. But
that's true.
I can see how that could be a con.
That's true.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, there's not too many cons for me.
Well, there's so much. Again, this film, there's a little to work off of. So we're not saying it's a great film. We're just saying there's so little to work off of. Where there are pros, but I mean, to pull a con, there's not much to pull from. So
okay, yeah, that makes sense then. For me, as far as a big con is the storyline itself. It's a great original storyline, I have to say, but it's so limited. It's so limited with what happens that it's hard to find, like you just said, it's hard to find something specifically that is like, oh, they could have done this better.
Exactly.
Or they should have added that.
And also the lack of characters. Like, it's like, what do I have 4 characters to choose from, saying lack of? Okay, one of my cons, I will say, some of the calls were pretty cheesy. Yeah. Some of the phone calls in, like, you could tell it was like, and that's why it kind of did sound kind of like joke, like they probably thought it was a joke, because they were a little cheesy with that. But I think my biggest con, honestly, which I can't give away, was the ending, which you can decide for yourself. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really all I can say.
I'll agree.
With that.
I know we haven't talked about it, but yeah. Also, I guess I can say it's starting to make sense now why the movie was done so cheaply. It was done in one room, pretty much.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I'm sure they filmed that probably in a day. Or like a week, like honestly,
they could have. Well, with how amazing Grant Mazey did,
yeah,
he was probably one take
came in, said, "Let's do this, let's get it over." He's used to filming blockbuster films that take like 5 months to film. So.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our pros and cons. All right, let's go into the rating system.
Let's break it down. As always, 1 to 4. 1 being this movie sucks. 4 being this is one of the best horror films I've ever seen. So, you want to start? Or you want me to?
I'll start.
All right,
I'll start. I did think about this a lot more than I typically think about other films or that we've done in the past.
Had to break it down more,
because it was harder for me to find things that affected my feeling about it, But when I actually sat down and thought about it, and I took the time to do that, I would have to say I'm going to give it a 2. And I'm going to give it a 2 simply because
nothing's there really.
There's not much to go on, and it was a good film. I would recommend watching it. if you love horror like we do, you're gonna watch it anyways.
Yeah, but you can say that about any movie then. I mean, honestly, but if you are listening to this, you will be that person where if we give it a 1, you'll watch it. But
yeah,
on a scale of being like awesome, like we said,
I'm gonna give it a 2. I have to stay with the 2. I did think it was original. I thought it was well done for what it was. So I can't beat it up for that. But I do want to beat it up for the fact that it's just, I need to see more in a film.
Keyword lacking.
It was lacking.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So where are you at with it?
I hate to do this, but I'm a 2. I think it's a 2. Yeah. I mean, the only reason I would say maybe a 3, but this is just my personal, like, I'm obsessed with radio shows. Like I said, Howard Stern, like I'm obsessed. I listen to him every day. So that was just like a cool vibe for me being like, oh my God, horror and radio shows, like 2 of my really big favorite things. And but again, just it lacked so much. So like if it would have just had a little more, it would have bumped it up to a 3. But with the lack of,
there just wasn't anything to go on.
I mean, again, dialogue, like it had everything except it had everything with the story. I think the story was awesome. It just was lacking visual, which I think they really needed to have the first act or 2 be the dialogue, but then the second like half of the act should have been complete visual. They should have been out there seeing what's happening.
Yeah, I think they should have gone out in the trenches a little bit and kind of lived it. I think it would,
or just even had them. Again, I can't give this away, but like have it ending where something happens where they get attacked or something. You know, like more.
Yeah,
again,
more.
I can't go into it, but
let's just stop
it
there.
So, but yeah, I'll give it a 2. Again, I would totally watch this if you got time. You know, if you got a few minutes on your hands, if you're going through Netflix, searching around and can't find anything, I wouldn't go out of your way to watch it. But again, if you have a bored Friday night,
I'll disagree. I would go out of your way to watch it because I feel like if you're going to listen to our show and you're going to be obsessed with horror movies like we are, and you love talking about them, it's one that'll change your perspective a little. It's one to watch. It's not the typical Friday the 13th gore movie. It's not the typical 2000s, late 2000s, slasher film. It's something that you watch, and it's definitely it's just original, and it's something that you want to see and say you've seen something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely different too than recently. Now, I mean, recently the big thing now is like The Conjuring, like Ghost, and all that stuff. Like Ghosts are huge right now. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I didn't think about it either.
I mean, I don't know. Again, I'll stick with that. I'd say if you're bored on Friday night, watch it. Unless you're a giant horror fan, which you probably are listening to this. But I mean, it would be my second choice out of a film if I found anything else.
If you found anything else, okay, that makes sense. Well, that wraps up our rating system. Colossals of Horror gives it a 2 all around.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go into the Dead Pit. All right, guys. This week on the Dead Pit, we actually have a up and coming film, which is we haven't done this for a while because really haven't been able to find anything lately. But this movie we are going to be reviewing or talking about is it's called Stage Fright, and this film will be coming out in 2014 of April 13th.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a Friday the 13th. I didn't even look at that. I'm not sure. That'd be cool if it was.
Well, you're talking about look it up.
Yeah, Darren will look that up really quick. But yeah, this movie looks really cool. This movie, it looks like a total old school like slasher film. We just watched the trailer.
It's a Saturday, or I'm sorry, it's a Sunday. It would have been nice, but
weak,
yeah.
weak, dude. But yeah, this looks really cool. It's here. I'll read the synopsis for you. It's about a snobby musical theater camp is terrorized by a bloodthirsty killer who hates musical theater. Classic.
Yeah, that's how we go.
I think it sounds awesome.
And we'll throw up the trailer for you in the description
here.
It
looks cool. It has that, because again, I'm sorry, I'm a sucker. Any horror movie that takes place at a camp,
yeah,
I'm sold.
You're sold.
I am sold.
You love
Sleepaway
it. You
camp,
love Sleepaway
Friday
Camp.
13th.
Yeah.
I think it's because I was deprived as a child of going to camp, and now I just love camp. Or maybe I was scared to go to camp. I don't know, but I love camp. I love campy horror movies. But
well, speaking of that, I just want to say one thing, and I know that you'll appreciate this, Lawrence. But Evil Dead 2, and I know we love Evil Dead, and sometimes we reference it, but it was actually made yesterday.
Oh, really?
Back in '87.
That's a nice little.
Yep.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Is it? It's '87, right? I think it's '87.
I couldn't tell you offhand. But
I think it is. But
right,
yesterday.
Back to Stage Fright. Yeah, this movie looks really cool. It has a sleepaway camp vibe. It has, and as watching the trailer, it kind of looked almost like a comedy. Like, it's not meant to be serious. Like, again, it's a serial killer who hates
Did you see
musicals.
Devil's Carnival? Is it Devil's Carnival? It's kind of like that. I think it's called Devil's Carnival. It's kind of like a play.
That's the subtitled one, right? No, this isn't a play though.
Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
You heard me watching, but it's definitely not. But I mean, it's the typical mass serial killer, the Scooby Doo who's done it. That's what it seems like. But I mean, I would definitely check it out. It looks. I'm gonna go see it. I think it looks cool. So.
And Minnie Driver and Meatloaf.
Oh, that's
are in
right.
it.
Yeah, Minnie Driver is the. I guess. Hold on, let me look this up. Minnie Driver is Kyle Swanson. I guess she's one of the counselors, and Meatloaf.
Meatloaf.
I mean, we all love us some Meatloaf.
Bad out of hell, Meatloaf.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I'd check it out. It looks really cool. So that's
that'll conclude our session in the Dead Pit. So hopefully you guys will check out Pontypool. And again, when Stage Fright comes out next month, we might just do a review on it.
Hopefully check out Pontypool, or hopefully don't. I mean, it all depends who you agree with on this one. But yeah.
Yep. So again, we just want to thank you guys for tuning in to this week's podcast of Colossals of Horror. Again, I'm your host, Darren Mitchell, along with Lawrence Brown over here. And we just want to say, again, we've gotten some responses from you guys so far, so that's been pretty cool. Again, if you want to contact us, you can contact us at colossalsofhorror@gmail.com, or you can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/colossalsofhorrorpodcast. Or you can check us out on iTunes. Again, you can get every week's podcast on iTunes.
Yeah, they're all up there
for free.
Right now,
so they're all up there.
So check it out, guys. Got a lot to listen to.
Okay, well, we want to conclude that for today in this episode. So again, we will see you guys later.
All right, keep the horror alive, guys.